Oh. 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 Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. In our Vedanta and Bhagavata course, we do not just explore Sri Krishna's teachings like we do in Meaningful Mornings, we also explore his life. And recently I shared with all of the students, Brahme Muhurta Uttaya. Brahme Muhurta Uttaya, which means Sri Krishna woke up. Woke up when? During the period that is most conducive to feel infinite. To wake up during the period that is most conducive to feel infinite. And that time is 3 a.m. And some of you are waking up that early. If not 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Some of you are waking up that early. The consolation of all of this is before 6 a.m. Because here I'm saying 3 a.m., 4 a.m. How are we ever going to live like Sri Krishna? Before 6 a.m. And I feel that Meaningful Mornings is a catalyst to waking up during this period. If you weren't part of Meaningful Mornings, would you wake up as early as you do? An English definition for the word viveka is analysis, the one who analyzes. If you were to analyze the investment of your effort to be joyous, you're analyzing your effort. We do this with money, we do this with time, but what about your effort? The efforts that you're investing, is it becoming easier or harder to be happy? Are your efforts making it easier for you to be happy or harder for you to be happy? I pray and hope it's easier. Verses 19 to 23 are describing the one who is happy effortlessly. Effortlessly. Remembering that they have invested maximum effort to feel this effortless joy. Such a vision and lifestyle is not instinctive. If you observe the people around you, everyone keeps trying to work harder, but that doesn't mean that they're trying to work smarter. They're focusing on the karma, but not on the yoga. These verses, 19 to 23, are to inspire us to do more with our days and our lives, to be more with the body, with the spirit. The recent verses in 22, a lovely word that is shared is vimatsaraha. And if you're looking at your English translation, what word do you see in Vimatsaraha. The word Sarah. I knew so many Sarahs when I was in school. Now every time I come across a Sarah, I'm going to think Vimatsaraha. Vimatsaraha is acknowledging there are differences amongst every entity, yet those differences do not have to devolve to divisions. Myself and my children, we are different. I pretend to listen, they openly don't listen. But I don't compete with them. They don't compete with me. There's no division between us. In verse 23, Gata sangasya muktasya. Why would anyone be attached to that which is relative? This does not make any sense. It's illogical. For some of us, we feel the word relative is technical. Just change it to changing. Why would you depend on that which is changing? Viveka, analysis. Jnana vastita chetasaha. The one who is inspired, the one who is joyous, they are stable, established. They infuse knowledge into all that they do. For us, that means no complaining, no blaming, no annotating. That's how we too will be avastita. Yajnaya charataha. They live for and by dedication. We too do this, but we are dedicated to a person. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a neighbor, and it ends there. But for the one who's effortlessly joyous, they too are dedicated, but not to a person, but rather to a purpose. Sri Krishna is trying to encourage Prince Arjuna to be dedicated to dharma. Our purpose should be egolessness. I too should be dedicated towards my own egolessness, which is the best for all persons. Karma sangram samagram praviliyate. All of their actions are dissolved. Now the technicality here, please listen carefully. They do not act for fulfillment, since that action is not affecting them. That also implies desires don't affect them. That also implies forgetfulness does not apply to them. I know this is technical, but please reflect on this. Karma comes from kama, and kama comes from avidya. So, if my karma is dissolved or deleted, that also means my kama is and my avidya is. That I have remembered how to be joyous. Very lovely. We continue to a new flow of thought. I have to orient you towards this. I'm reading a sentence from Pujya Swami Chinmayananda's commentary. Gita is an attempt to reinterpret the Vedic theory and technique of achievement of the Supreme. In other words, the Veda, which tends to be less accessible by an ordinary seeker like me, the Gita is taking that same life and teachings and making this accessible for an ordinary seeker like me. From the ashram to our homes. Verses 24 to 30. Within these verses, there are 12 yajnas or practices. In each of these, what is being described is how a joyous person lives. And that's why I describe this as practices for us, that if we live like this, we will be joyous also. In every one of these verses, in every one of these yajnas or practices, there are 4 factors. I'm going to go from closest to farthest. The first is the offerer. The key being ER. The termination is ER, offerer. Who is the offerer? Our ego. We're trying to be joyous, yes? If we are joyous, then there's no need for yajna, dedication, and so on. The second factor is the offering. Offering, ing. For every one of these yajnas or practices, this will change. Ego will not change. It will always be fixed in these practices. The offering will change. Number 3, offered. This offered is really offered to. Where is this offering going? Okay? I'm trying to simplify that to offered, ed. So you have er, ing, ed. This too will keep on changing. So the offering and offered will change for all 12 of these practices. And the fourth factor is why. Why is the offerer making the offering to the offered? Our why typically is for a person. I've already stated that. But we have to evolve this to a purpose. Why we should engage in this practice and these practices is antakarana shuddhi, which means purity. Purity of mind, purity of intellect. So as I orient you towards these practices, not for a person, but for the purpose of purity, for the one who is established in joy, why do they do any of this? Their purpose is presence. See how it's higher than a purpose? The why is presence. Okay? Verse 24. Many of you would know this verse already. Nonetheless, I will chant this. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmeva tena gantavyam brahmakarma samadhina. By a physical show of hands, how many of you have heard this verse before? Wow, there are some who have not. Okay. Brahmarpanam. The offering is infinite. Here, offering is not being specified. It is a general term. It's like me saying to you, I love you, but not telling you why I love you. Okay? It's general. Brahma havihi. This offering is described as havihi. Havihi in Sanskrit is materials like wood and butter and so on. All of the stuff that produces smoke and it bothers your eyes, that's what avihi is. So now see how that offering is qualified. This is what the offering is. Brahmagnau, the fire in which these materials are offered, that's infinite too. Brahmanahutam, and the one who offered these materials in the fire, which typically is like a priest, is infinite also. Brahmevatena gandavyam goes to infinity or feels infinity. How? Brahma karma samadhina, the one who remembers, the one whose intention is that all is infinite. Okay? Just giving you one more point here. Tomorrow, naturally, I will share more. One of the most important words here is arpana. The yajna bhava, or the intention of dedication, demands arpana and prasada. Arpana means you are dedicated. Prasada means you sacrifice. Which is more important? The arpana. When one is dedicated, they naturally sacrifice, but they don't know they're sacrificing. That is one's prasada. Where one becomes more independent, more generous. Let's go. So the arpana is the first word that is shared here. The offering is infinite, and those who are tuned into this, they will start to feel infinite, independent, joyous. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to readjust your relationship with food. See how this verse has nothing to do with food. Acharya Shankara shares that food should be treated as medicine. When you're unwell, how much medicine do you take? You don't take too much, you don't take too little, you take the right amount. Treat food like medicine. It should not be a form of security. Lots of people cook because it makes them feel more secure. Lots of people eat because it makes them feel more secure. Medicine, not security. Your application for this morning, I want you to take this verse, which many of you know, and I want you to summarize it for your neighbor. Imagine your neighbor were to ask you what this verse means. I want you to summarize it in such a way that your neighbor will join you tomorrow for meaningful mornings, okay? So do a good job. Sell them on this. Shanti, shanti, shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.